Yo, what's up, guys? I think we're live. I'm trying to make sure 100%. So, people in the chat, if we're live, let me know. But we're gonna be doing this stream breakdown. Just gonna be talking about the fights, try to come up with a few prop bets and things like that. Right now, they only have totals, so gonna be just kind of thinking about what I think they should be priced and seeing if we could find some leads, things like that. But don't have 100% of my predictions done, but I do have quite a few. So have some spots that I'm comfortable in, other ones I'm not going to talk about as much. But let's get into it. I mean, the first fight we got Jojo Calderwood versus Marina Morose, and this is a rematch from a fight that was a long time ago. It was actually Marina Morose's debut in the UFC. She went in there and took out Jojo as a big underdog. At that point, I think she was like a minus 900 underdog or favorite. Jojo was, and Marina Morose was like plus 600, and she went in there and beat her. So that was pretty crazy. But now, obviously, they both kind of know each other more. And I do believe this is going to be Joanne Calderwood's last fight. So that's something that's a little bit interesting that you have to impact into the fight. But I also feel like with Marina, she's not necessarily like someone that's been that active in the sport that you could trust that much either. But personally, what I'm looking at right here is the under, man. Under 2.5 rounds at plus 250. I kind of like that. I mean, especially if you're on the Marina Morose side, I feel like Marina Morose, if she wins, there's a pretty good likelihood that she's going to win via submission. I mean, that's how she won the first fight. And if it stays standing, I think Jojo has the edge on the value just because, personally, I just think that if it goes to decision, Calderwood has a pretty good chance to win. It's going to be like a coin flip fight. So if you're holding a plus 180, I think that's going to be a pretty decent bet. But if you're on the Morose side, you think that she's going to go in there and get it done again and kind of justify that minus 210 price tag. I think it's going to happen inside the distance, either getting on top and finishing through top position or finishing once again with the armbar from full guard. So I feel like ultimately, if you're going to target this fight, I would target the under. Or if you're on Jojo's side, maybe wait, see what Jojo Calderwood via decision is. But under submission, I think the submission is going to be a popular prop prediction and bet by people this week. I don't exactly know what it's going to open at, but if the under 2.5 rounds is plus 250, you have to think there's a decent chance that the price tag on the under is going to be decent. So ultimately, I think that could be a good bet there. You know, we don't exactly know what it's going to open as, but if it's Marina Morose like plus 200, plus 250 or better to win via submission, I think that's a pretty decent bet there. And then this next one, we got kind of a squash match here with Almeida being a huge favorite against Carlos Vergara. And, you know, I agree with this. I was just watching a few of Azu's fights earlier. I feel like he does a good job of moving around. He throws a lot of kicks, and I think that Vergara doesn't really have the best kick defense. I also feel like the takedowns are going to be there. So for Almeida, I think he's going to struggle more with someone that has good pressure and really solid striking, whereas Vergara has okay striking, but I don't think it's anything to write home about. So I feel like Almeida is going to hit the takedowns, and ultimately my question is Carlos Vergara's toughness going to let him get to the decision, or is it going to be an inside the distance type of fight for Almeida where he can get another submission win? So the over and the under doesn't really entice me, you know, being minus 115 either way. I don't really have a big inclination to bet on either side, but I do want to see what Almeida via submission opens up as. If it opens at like minus 110 or like plus 100, which is what I'm assuming, I probably won't have a lot of interest in it, to be honest with you, but I do think that he has a chance to get that rear naked choke. Vergara's rear naked choke defense is pretty good, though, I believe. And for Vergara, I don't see a lot of chances for him to win. So at minus 450, I would line Almeida like minus 600. So I think that there's some value there if you want to throw Almeida in a parlay or two. So Almeida to me is a pretty safe pick this week, and just going to come down to if he's going to finish the fight, if it's going to go to decision. And like I said, I don't really like the value there at under 2.5 rounds, minus 115. But via submission, if it's like plus 150 or better, maybe we get a good number there, then I would be interested. But if it's like where I think like minus 110, plus 100, maybe plus 110, which I think a submission prop is going to be at, I probably won't be betting that fight outside of maybe parlay and Almeida with someone else. But we're continuing on through this card, and we got Robelis Despain taking on Josh Perisian. And this is a weird one, man. I mean, Robelis Despain, if you guys know about him, he's coming in the UFC for his first UFC fight, and he's been finishing these random guys that he's been fighting super quick. Like, finished a guy in 3 seconds, and 4 seconds, and 12 seconds. And he's a Taekwondo guy. He was in the Taekwondo Olympics, I believe, and or in the Olympics for Taekwondo for Cuba, and won the bronze medal. So obviously he's going to be a really dynamic striker, but we don't know anything about this guy. I mean, to justify minus 320, I think is kind of steep. I mean, you look at Josh Perisian. Perisian is a tough guy. He's durable. I mean, he could take shots. Seems like he gets hurt early, but he recovers and then gets better as the fight goes on. So you never know. I mean, is Despain going to have the cardio to keep fighting in the later rounds? I have no idea. I mean, if he can't just knock Josh Perisian out early, I think that there's no way that he's going to justify that minus 320. It's just Josh Perisian. I mean, do you really want to go to the betting window and bet against a guy that's knocking fools out in 3 seconds with Josh Perisian? I don't know, but at plus 260, I mean, I think he has the value ultimately because we don't know anything about this Despain guy. I mean, his grappling, we have no clue if he has a good clinch game, how his cardio is going to look. We don't know if he has a chin. And Perisian, I mean, he's not great, but the guy can hit takedowns against the cage. He's good at getting back up to his feet when he's taken down, and he could survive some punishment. I mean, he looked really bad at his last fight, so I don't like that. But, I don't know, plus 260, I think there's some value there. I think, really, with this fight, if you're going to bet on Robelis Despain, why would you bet on this minus 320? I mean, just wait for the first round prop to come out and bet on that, because I don't see him winning in the second or third round. I mean, I would be pretty surprised. So, we'll see. I mean, ultimately, it's like, if it gets in the second round, I think Parisian's going to finish him in that second round. So, I don't know what the odds would be with that, but Parisian finishing in the second round could be like plus 500, plus 600. And if that's what the odds are going to be, I could potentially put a bet on that. But yeah, I want to see what do you guys in the chat think. I see some people coming up in the chat. Josh Morton, shout out to you. Blake, SM, D Brown. Are you guys completely sold on this Robelis Despain guy? Like, what do you think about him getting all these 3-second knockouts, 4-second knockouts? He's fighting guys with like one pro fight. So is he going to go out there and just kill Josh Parisian like that? Or is Parisian going to kind of show him that there's levels to this? Because I know Parisian isn't that good, but this is a fight that kind of intrigues me a little bit. You know, I think that a lot of people are going to be betting Despain blindly, like thinking that Parisian has no chance to win. But I do feel like could be a parlay breaker right there. I think that Despain has a chance to lose, but would be curious to see what you guys think. And let's move on to this next fight right here. And we got Michel Pereira taking on Michał Oleksiejczuk. And this is a fight that I believe was already booked before, but now they are fighting again. I think Pereira pulled out or something like that, but Pereira looked really good in his first fight at 185. He knocked out Petrosky really fast, so this is a different matchup right here. So I think this is a dog or pass matchup too. I mean, just like the last one, Michel Pereira is a really flashy, really dynamic striker, and I think if he strikes in this fight, though, ultimately he may end up losing because we've seen him struggle with pressure and guys with good boxing, even guys that are kind of flakes like Andre Fiallo had a lot of success, pressuring and using their hands on Pereira. Pereira gets tired too, so if he can hit takedowns, I think that definitely gives him a better chance to win. But if Michał could keep pressuring him, using that southpaw style in the boxing, I think he could get a finish maybe in that third round, or at least maybe steal the fight as the underdog. So I kind of like Michał in this spot. Haven't bet him or anything, but I do feel like he has some value there. So what do you guys think about that? I mean, are you all sold on Pereira, or do you think Meow can kind of pressure him and potentially get something going there? But people in the chat, let's see what they got to say. Blake SM says Despain is going to knock him out. I do feel like there's a chance. I mean, we saw Alain Badeau drop him in the first round, so I definitely think he could get that quick knockout. It's just if he doesn't, I'm really sketched out on what would happen next. But Josh Morden, honestly, never heard of him, but that sounds sketchy. Also, you see it all the time where a young hot prospect comes in and gets smoked by a low level vet. Yeah, exactly, and it's kind of it's heavyweight too, so it's like you never really want to bet on someone that's unproven at heavyweight with those type of odds either. It's kind of crazy. Um, D Brown Dogger pass for me. Yeah, it's like what I'm saying. I definitely agree with that. And Josh Warren, only if he dances too much for the fights. It seems like he's on more on the Pereira side. But yeah, to me that's an interesting fight. It's gonna be a striking fight more than likely. And I think Oleksiejczuk is probably the value side on that one. And all these fights are kind of similar. We got kind of like a come forward striker that has the fundamentals, and then they're taking on these flashy guys that are going to be throwing a lot of unorthodox techniques and stuff. So we got Pedro Munos versus Kyler Phillips. Pedro's a big dog, plus 221. So to me, that's a little surprising. I don't think Kyler Phillips should be that big of a favorite against someone like Pedro. We've seen Pedro even recently beat Chris Gutierrez, so I think it's kind of similar to Phillips. So yeah, I haven't looked into this one too much. I got to be honest. I want to watch Pedro's last fight and Kyler's last fight, get a kind of recollection exactly of how they looked, but I can't really get with Kyler Phillips at minus 260 against Pedro. I think Pedro would be the value there. We've seen Phillips get tired in fights and lose due to that. So we'll see. But yeah, that's a really interesting fight to me. I mean, this is one that I got to look into a little bit more. I know how they both fight, obviously, but I feel like Pedro could be live, but after I watch tape, maybe I won't think that. So it's kind of one of those fights where I definitely don't think I'm going to be betting on Kyler at minus 260. I just think there's too many question marks. I think Pedro is too much of a vet to be laying that type of line there. But maybe I'll come on to Pedro, but probably not. Probably a pass for me on that one. And as far as potential props, I'm thinking, I mean, maybe Munoz via submission or Munoz round 3. Phillips via decision. I don't see Phillips finishing Pedro, so it's what I would think. But yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I feel like that's a tricky fight right there. That's a fight where it could be Pedro Munoz once again coming in as the underdog and breaking a lot of people's hearts right there. So, yeah, that's a good fight. And Josh Morden, love Phillips, but Pedro always makes me nervous. Hard to bet against him. Yeah, definitely someone that has that vet savvy. He's never going to get discouraged, and he keeps coming forward, man. The guy's chin is unbreakable. And got a veteran versus, I guess not really a prospect. Gamrot's already a contender, so Rafael dos Anjos, I'm surprised to see him coming back down to 55s. He said that he wasn't going to do that again, but coming back down, taking on Gamer. And I feel like he probably feels like you look at all the top matchups at 155 and the guys in the top 5, top 10. This is maybe the one that you can go out there and get the job done in and get the win, because Gamrot's right now fairly one-dimensional, even though that one dimension is cream of the crop elite with the wrestling, and he has very good grappling as well, but he doesn't have that striking element really, and I feel like RDA, if he can keep it standing, is going to have the advantage. But man, I mean, we've seen RDA really struggle mightily against a lot of wrestlers that try to take him down up against the cage, use their size, clinch wrestling. Mateos isn't really someone that does that, though. He really likes to attack that single leg and then create action off of that. But at the end of the day, I mean, I don't like the line. It's like Gamrot at almost 500, minus 500. I don't see a lot of value there, but it's hard to pick RDA just with this gas tank and Gamrot being willing to wrestle so much. I feel like RDA coming down to 155, his age, you have to think he's probably going to get tired, and Gamrot's probably just going to just wrestle him in this fight. But yeah, I feel like RDA has a chance. Like, if you're looking at it from the line value, I think RDA has a little more value. But for me, that fight's like a total pass, honestly. It's like Gamrot probably should be able to win, but doesn't really have great odds there. And then Caitlin Chookagian versus Macy Barber. A little surprised to see Chookagian as such a big underdog here, almost 2-1 underdog against Barber. She's really only lost to the highest level girls, so we'll see how Chookagian comes back. She hasn't fought in a while. But that's another interesting fight right there. I mean, if Macy Barber can't get it to the ground, you have to imagine Chookagian's going to win that fight. I mean, Barber's striking has gotten better. She has some power, but she still really struggles with that range and distance management and kind of throwing when she's out of distance and struggling to kind of get inside. And if that happens, I mean, Chookagian could choke her and get the decision win. So I think it's dog or pass in this one. But I get Barber's getting better. She's a lot younger. But I don't have a lot of faith in Barber to win at that number over someone like Chookagian. So it's going to be an intriguing fight there. I see Stefan saying Barber inside the distance. What do you think? You think it's going to be a KO, TKO, or a sub? I've never really seen as Chookagian ever gotten finished before. I guess she did get finished against Valentina, right? So yeah, that's the one time. But yeah, I'm not sure. I think Barber's definitely getting better, but probably another pass, dog or pass type of situation. I don't think I'm going to be betting Chookagian, but yeah, I don't like the line for Barber at almost 2-1. I don't think she is going to justify that line. And then this next fight, Jonathan Almeida versus Curtis Blades. Now Blades is the favorite, which is pretty intriguing. I mean, I think the line when they were going to fight the first time, Blades was like a pretty big underdog. So now after that performance with Almeida versus Derek Lewis, where he really looked kind of sloppy in that fight. He didn't look sloppy, I don't want to say that, but he just took him down and laid on him and couldn't get any offense going, and people were really surprised that he wasn't able to get Derek Lewis out of there or really get any of his jiu-jitsu going at all. And he's a small heavyweight. We've all known that for a while. And he's taking on one of the bigger heavyweights that's a really good wrestler. So we're going to see if Almeida can even get it to the ground. That's going to be the first test and first question. I mean, if Blades can keep it standing, it's going to be interesting because Blades has a really bad chin. So that's why the line's, I think, a little closer. I mean, if Blades had good durability on the feet, he would probably be a 2-1 favorite. But Almeida, I mean, he's never shown any power, but maybe he could catch Blades and hurt him at this point. Blades used to have a good chin, but he just took so much damage at this point. It's like, man, hard to trust him. But I do think Blades is going to win the fight. It's just now that this money is coming in on him, like he opened at plus 160. Now he's minus 120. I think the value's kind of gone. So if you got that earlier number on Curtis Blades, I definitely think that you got something good there. But I don't know about minus 120. I'm not sure if I would lay that. I do think that Blades could finish this fight. And I like the fight doesn't go to decision. I want to see what that's going to be lined at because the over 1.5 rounds is minus 165. So if the fight doesn't go to decision, is like close to even odds, that could be a play I could target because I feel like both these fighters have finishing ability, and I kind of would be surprised if it went all 3 rounds ultimately. We've never seen Almeida have to be the nail in a fight, and I think if it doesn't go all his way, he's not going to be lasting for 3 rounds. So I kind of like that. I want to see what Blades inside the distance would be as well. But yeah, I like Blades in that fight. I mean, does anyone on the Jalton side here, do they think Almeida's going to be able to go out there and kind of, not rebound because he won his last fight, but get his stock back and be back in that spot where people were talking about him like he was a future title challenger? But I'm going to be picking Blades in that one. But this next fight, talk about a future or a former champion with Pereira that's kind of fallen on hard times here. He's coming off that loss to Morose, and now they're giving him Yadong Song, where it's kind of like this is his last chance to stay in the mix. If he loses this one, it's probably a big, significant step down in competition for his next fight. Like, if he loses this, that's what, 4 losses in a row. I would think he's going to be fighting someone like outside the top 10. So this is it for Pereira if he wants to stay in the title mix. And it's another chance. Like, Yadong Song had that chance versus Corey Sandhagen, came up short. Now he's getting another chance to break into the top 5 with the win over Pereira. And this is another one that I got to look into a little bit more. But I think if it stays standing, you got to favor Petter. You know, I still think that he's one of the best strikers in that division. I think he's getting a little underrated at this moment. But Yadong could mix it up and shoot takedowns. And that's something that at this point in Pereira's career, that's going to be a glaring weakness that people are going to see and really try to exploit. And I know that it was Morose that was taking him down, and we've seen in other fights him show good takedown defense and things like that. But as you get older, things start to snowball. I mean, it could be a mental thing too. Like if Song Yadong shoots on him, you know, Pereira could kind of be like, I don't know, thinking in his head like this is going to be a bad night, and it could snowball for him in the other direction. So I feel like if Jan was plus money, it would be a potential bet for me. But when he's like minus 108 odds, I feel like it's a pass. Like, I would want to have a little more value on Jan off this losing streak, because I do think that Yadong Song is a dangerous guy. He hasn't really been able to beat someone at Pereira's level. But as far as props, if I'm thinking about props, maybe Song via submission, but that would be really like a long shot proposition there. I see this one probably going to decision, honestly. I think it's probably going to go to decision, and one guy's going to get the win in that one. It'd probably be a pretty action-packed, fun fight, but don't really have a great read on that fight, honestly. And then Gilbert Burns versus Jack Della. I like Jack Della in this fight, just right now thinking about it, ultimately, because Burns, it seems like he's fallen apart a little bit, man. He got injured his last fight. He hasn't been having the most success. Even in his win versus Masvidal, I feel like he didn't look super great in that fight. And I just think Jack Della's catching him at the right time. I think that he's probably going to be able to knock Gilbert Burns out. Gilbert Burns has a really good chin, but I think he struggles against these technical guys that stay clean, stay accurate when he gets wild. And I think Jack Della could really butcher him, beat him up. And I know we've seen Jack Della struggle in a fight where he got taken down and kind of dominated for portions of that fight against that Hafez guy on short notice. But I think for this one, he's going to be a lot more ready for that. I think he's going to know what's going to be the game plan for Gilbert. And I think he's going to be able to shut that down. So Jack Della, I like him here. I think he minus 150. I would line him like minus 185. So I think there's some small value there for Jack Della. And the under 1.5 plus 165, I don't hate that. I think that there's definitely some value there. And I think Jack Della by KO. So I'm liking Della Maddalena in that one. And I know there's some love for Gilbert as well. So if you're on the Gilbert side and you're watching, put it in the comments down below or in the live stream right now and kind of tell me your take on why I'm wrong, why Gilbert's going to get the job done. Because I know Gilbert's a high-level guy too, so curious to see what other people's opinions are. But I think Jack Della is going to get it done in that one. And up next, we got Michael Venom Page. He's making his long-awaited return or long-awaited debut for the UFC, taking on Kevin Holland. And man, I'm not as excited about this fight as other people. I feel like this definitely has a chance to be a dud fight. I could see it being a glorified sparring match type of fight. I mean, just with both these guys' styles. But maybe it'll clash good. We'll see. I mean, maybe they both obviously have big motivation and get the job done. Like, if either of them win, they're going to have big name recognition for their next fight and probably get a big-time matchup. So it's intriguing in that essence, but I feel like it's going to go to decision. I don't know. I just don't have a good feeling about this being an entertaining fight. I think that Michael Page is going to throw a lot of leg kicks, and it's going to be like a close decision. So that's kind of what I think, honestly. So I feel like MVP is going to win like a close decision. But yeah, I'm not really super excited for this fight. I know a lot of other people are, but for me, I just don't really think it's going to be that fun of a fight to watch. But MVP, like, he has a lot of question marks, even though I'm picking him, like, 38 years old. He's coming in off a really long layoff. He hasn't fought in quite a while. So is he going to look the same? Like, I know he had that fight with Mike Perry, but when's the last time he fought MMA? Like, well over a year ago, I believe. And yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see how he looks in the UFC and everything like that. What type of shape he can get himself into. But I'm going to lean towards him, but I think it'll be a boring fight. Like, to me, it's like MVP by decision or either guy. Or if the fight goes decision, if it's like decent odds, I think that's a good bet there. So we're getting to the co-main event here. Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Saint Denis. I think Saint Denis is going to win, but I don't think the odds are justified. You know, I think that Poirier is the value side at plus 170. Poirier struggles with southpaws, even though recently he's done a lot better. He gets hit a lot, and Saint Denis, you know, I've been kind of doubting him in some spots. He's just been, excuse me, but proving me wrong. So it's hard for me to keep picking against him, you know. But minus 200 against Dustin Poirier, by far the best guy he's ever fought. Like, it's hard for me to really get to that number. But I think the fight doesn't go to decision is something that could be a good bet there. I don't know exactly what the odds are going to be, though. I could see it, you know, being overpriced. So we'll see, because the over 1.5 is minus 160. So maybe the fight doesn't go to decision will be okay odds, but I'm not sure. Like, we'll see what that opens at, but I feel like it's not going to go the distance. And yeah, I mean, ultimately that would probably be my take on the fight. Like, I don't know if I would bet Poirier plus 170. I just don't know exactly what Poirier we're going to get with his age and motivation level and everything like that. But if the fight doesn't go decision is plus money, I'll tell you, and I'm going to bet it. So that would be a bet for me. And yeah, maybe Saint Denis like in the third round or something like that. But I feel like it's a fight that I kind of want to watch as a fan. So I don't know if I'm going to pick a side. But yeah, if fight doesn't go decision, I think that potentially could be a good bet there. And finally, we got the main event. We got Sean O'Malley versus Chito Vera. And saving the best for last year. I mean, shout out to the UFC. They've been giving us some really fun main events lately. But, man, I mean, I don't know how you can get to O'Malley minus 300 after watching the first fight and just seeing O'Malley's whole career. Like, if he can't knock Vera out, I think it's kind of the same story. Like, if he doesn't knock him out in the first 2 rounds, it's going to turn into a dogfight, and it's going to be a lot closer than plus 250 minus 300. So O'Malley could justify his number if he goes out there and is the first guy to starch Chito and gets him out of there early in the first round or the second round. But if it starts getting in the third, fourth, and fifth, I think that we're going to see the dog come out of Chito, and we're going to see if the dog comes out of O'Malley or if Chito's going to be able to kind of beat him again, man. So I think it's a lot closer fight than people are giving it credit for, especially on the line. I think obviously we're going to get some, you know, Sean O'Malley tax here, and he's going to be a bigger favorite than he deserves to be just because of his name recognition, other people betting on him, and we might even potentially get an even better number on Chito by fight night. But I just don't agree with that. I feel like a lot of people are very confident in O'Malley on the second time, and I do think should be the favorite just off what we've seen from Chito in other fights. But Chito plus 250, I don't know how you could say that isn't value right there. I think that definitely Chito has value there. I mean, has a great chin. And if he can extend the fight, he should have the edge in the cardio. I think he's the tougher guy. He has the better wrestling and I don't know wrestling, but he has the better grappling to me for sure. So yeah, I think Cheeto in the later rounds. Maybe if you want to pick Sean, first round, second round, I think that'll probably be pretty juicy odds. And I don't see Sean winning over 5 rounds. I really don't. I mean, I could be wrong, and maybe Sean will have a clean performance, beat Cheeto 50-45 or something. But I think if this goes into the later rounds, Cheeto has a real shot to get the job done. So maybe I'll be wrong, but that's kind of what I'm seeing with this fight. So I think Cheeto has good value at plus 250 personally, and that's kind of where I'm leaning with that. So there you go, guys. Thanks for watching this video. I'm going to be back. I'm going to do my full card breakdown prediction video. I'm going to be putting out some other content on the channel. So like this video, put a comment down below, everything like that. Appreciate everyone for coming in through the live stream. And watch it back. I mean, it's going to be good information regardless. So if you're just getting in here. But thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate everyone in the chat that was being active. Josh Moore and Stefan, D. Brown,